More and more people claim that Randonautica is secretly connected to the dark web. What is Randonautica? Randonautica is an app that gives you random coordinates based on a quantum random number generator. Users can set intentions, things like love, mystery, something spookily meaningful, and then explore whatever location the app gives them. On the surface, it's an adventure app. But lately, there's a wave of creepy stories and conspiracy claims that go way beyond fun app. Let's dive into one of the wildest, the idea that Randonautica is linked to the dark web. In 2020, a group of teenagers in Seattle used Randonautica and followed the app to a spot along the shoreline. What they found would go viral worldwide: a black suitcase washed up on the rocks. At first, they laughed, joking about what could be inside. But when they unzipped it, the smell hit them, and they realized it wasn't a joke. Inside were human remains, later confirmed by police to belong to a man and woman. Let's move to Reddit, where users shared real experiences. One post that caught everyone's attention claimed that Randonautica is tied to the dark web, and most people don't believe it. According to this user, there's a so-called dark side of the app known as RPWT, a password-protected community where people upload coordinates anonymously. The tall and scary figure. So me and my best friend decided to go out for a drive tonight and try the Randonautica app. It was about midnight already. We set it for an attractor, and the coordinates were about 35 mins away in a smaller township, but we drove out the highway anyways to check it out. We ended up on a dirt road, which then took us down another dirt road, which was a dead end. So we're about a 10-minute drive back to the main highway, and I had a horrible gut feeling. We come over top of a hill to see the last house, which had every single light on inside, yet no vehicles anywhere in the yard, and looking through the windows. From the car, the house looked completely destroyed on the inside. I noticed upstairs was lit up red by one single light bulb, and the windows reflected red light out into the yard. In the corner of my eye, I noticed what looked like someone very tall, wearing white khaki-looking pants, just standing at the end of the driveway. I knew something was wrong. I felt numb and cold, and I started to cry. My best friend had already seen at this point what I had been looking at and turned the car around, and we floored it back to the highway. Both of us felt like the wind had been knocked out of us, and had tears streaming down our faces. We both agreed we came across something non-human, and it did not want us in its area. I'm not sure what it was, but I will never forget what it looked like or the feeling I got from looking at it. Anyone know what we might have come across or ever had some kind of similar experience? Update. Since last night, both me and my friend have been receiving strange calls, voicemails, and texts from unknown numbers. The Redditor shared one of the voicemails. Have a listen. The rainbow. I had some interesting experiences using the app. One time I held my intention as rainbows. This is just after a thunderstorm had cleared out. The point was within walking distance from my apartment, so L set out. I turned the first corner, and there is a horrific accident scene. Cop cars. A car flipped upside down in the street. This is a small residential street with a speed limit of like 20 miles per hour. It was so surreal to see a scene like this there. Never another accident there in the whole time I lived there, and this was a violent one. I changed my mind and went back home. It was later I was thinking about it and realized the mixed colors of oil and water on the pavement that I saw could be the rainbows I asked for. When you thought the stories are fake. I heard about Randonautica back in 2020 during the beginning of the pandemic. I thought it looked interesting and that it might be a good way to get out of the house. My boyfriend and I tried it out a couple times. It took us to some random places, but nothing creepy, which was our intention. Fast forward to today, and I'm scrolling Facebook and come across a post about how they found the remains of missing girl Candace Fitzpatrick. She went missing in 2008 from Oshawa. Her body was found in the freezer of Adam Strong, who is also a resident of Oshawa. Candace was never found until November 2021. I remember seeing on Facebook that the forensic unit was out near my house back in November because of remains being found. I had a brief thought about maybe they found Candice, but didn't really think anything else about it. At the news conference, they talked about where her remains were found, and out of curiosity, I decided to check Google Maps and see if it was the same location as the forensic search. I was not prepared to find out that it was the same location Randonautica took us the very first time we tried it. Now I just feel sick. The rando pin was in this small bunch of trees in behind a bunch of newer houses. We parked the truck, walked down the path, and off the path trying to get closer to the pin. We ended up giving up because the bush was so thick and left. I haven't used Randonautica since 2020 because nothing really happened and I thought it was fake. Boy, was Cross wrong. We could have died. These past 2 nights, me and my friends decided we were going to go randonauting because of TikTok. Because blatantly, what else would teenagers at 12:30 after sneaking out of their house do? So we all got together, but out of all 4 of us, no one was really taking it seriously except for me and my best friend of 8 years, Quinn. To our surprise, it brought our group to the middle school where we first met. We were very touched by this, and got so distracted to the point where we didn't even end up going to the actual point location that was into the backwoods behind the school. All 4 of us were sitting there. Me and Quinn were hugging when we heard a high-pitched scream come from the direction of the point where we were supposed to go. Obviously, we all also screamed and booked it to the car. At this rate, we are all kinda spooked, wondering what this could be. Now, the rest of the night was pretty lackluster. We didn't see much except for a bunny rabbit, which wasn't our intention, but we counted as a win for the night. Now here is where it gets interesting. Last night, me and just Quinn decided to go out together without our other 2 friends just to see what would happen, or if we could get better results, because we were actually taking it seriously. So we are sitting in the car together and we decide our intent is friendship, something that brings us closer together. With our intent set and our energy positive as ever, we set out on ride, talking about all our memories on the way there. And it takes us to this point way far back into the middle of the woods, set right by a lake. There were no places to park, so we would have to walk. Now I'm really lazy, and this would have been a long walk, so I decided we should drive up the road to see if there were any spots. We pull away from the spot where we were going to get out of the car, and another car starts following us. We didn't really think anything of it at first, but we find an empty abandoned parking lot to park at. And we noticed that the car was still on sitting there when we parked. It wasn't moving, and we were so close to getting out of the car before Quinn noticed that it was still sitting there. Thankfully, we decided we were not going to get out of the car until that car left. A good 15 minutes pass, and nothing changes until we see that the car is moving. We were like, finally. But no, instead of the car leaving, this car turns around and zooms up right next to us. When I tell you I looked this man dead in the eyes and his face was so empty, completely devoid of any emotion, like a soulless person, honestly, it was terrifying. I'm yelling at this point like, Quinn, we need to go right now, go. This man gets up in his chair to open the door right as we speed away. Next, we look behind us and see that the car is still tailing us. He follows us all the way through the neighborhood onto the highway before we lose him. It gets worse. Quinn drops me off at my house. 5 minutes later, I get a call from Quinn. He sounds panicked and terrified. I can't really understand anything he is saying besides, I was being followed again. He proceeds to tell me that another car tailed him, switched lanes, and took every turn he did for a grip, and he was about to call my dad to help him. Apparently, this car had followed him since he pulled away from my house and all the way to his neighborhood when he sped away and lost him. What are the chances a scream comes from a point where we were being led? The chances that a car is waiting for us at the point we were supposed to go? Getting followed 2 times in one night, when only the app had our location. What do you think? Is there really a connection between Randonautica and the dark web? Do you have any stories? Share them in the comments.